Kia ora koutou, ko Andrew Miller talking wa. You'll probably able to get your breath back, I suppose. I'm a GP up in Whangarei. I've been a GP in my practice for the last 28 years. I've got a practice of 11,000 patients. Also the clinical lead for the Healthcare Homes Collaborative. I've been involved with the collaborative since inception. And the collaborative rolled out of healthcare homes initially. So the basis of what we actually did initially in forming this collaboration was this type of work. It was a real proof, I think, that you can make a change, you can be a catalyst for change, you can implement things, get things done without actually, dare I say, any government funding, government support, other than a whole lot of people that thought we could be doing better with what we're doing inside our practices. The little picture of the train wreck is really what it used to feel like before I started this work. That would come to work would be absolutely inundated with too much stuff to do. Somewhat sort of, trite, but it's a double whammy, I think, this. The keep calm really is what we're trying to do for the whānau we look after, in terms of saying, look, we have got ways of dealing with your urgent and unplanned care, the things you want sorted, and don't come in if you don't need to. Stay right where you are. Also, I guess for my staff who are going there feeling a bit pressured, that say, okay, stay calm. We've got ways of dealing with what's happening out there. And stay where you are, really don't leave your job. We've got real problems in North at the moment. We've got half our GPs intend to retire in the next 5 years. We've got 25,000 patients in the mid and far north without a GP. My practice has still got open books. I'm only going to explain to you a couple of parts of the model of care, which is how we've kept our books open and how we're dealing with the workload that is piling up. First thing I often do, I have to give this presentation to my colleagues around the country. We've now got 380 practices in New Zealand doing healthcare homes work, delivering that to 2.3 million New Zealanders. So one of my roles is to go and talk to my colleagues to say, look, this is a great thing to do, a safe thing to do, the sky won't fall in. But probably I challenge them straight up with this, that if you were a room full of my patients and I explained to you how work used to be before we started our model of care, not providing triage, not providing porter services, not doing shared care, not doing risk stratification, not doing our equity work, and try to defend that, I wouldn't be able to. I think I'd fail abysmally. I think you'd be right to demand an apology and take a view of things sort of another way. I've ended up on the receiving end of the health system, and I was a consumer and head and neck cancer support group, and some of the stuff I'm talking to you about is driven a little bit by the fact that on the receiving end I had no access to triage, no shared care plan, no advanced care plan, no way of contacting the practice via a portal, and that's just not good enough in my view. So this is really putting that, what I'm going to show you, putting that into test. First thing we do is actually a thing called phone triage. I'm not sure if any of you are actually in a healthcare homes practice, but what that does is anyone that rings our practice every day of the week who needs urgent unplanned care, wants to be seen that day, will get phoned back by a clinician and sorted out that day, on the day. We will sort every single person out on the day they ring. So it's good for patients, obviously. It values their time. It provides other ways of getting hold of care. It's good for our business efficiency in terms of seeing those that need to be seen. Help with our capacity, allowing us to do some other things that are more long-term, and it gives people choice. I often only have to show that picture. That little blue dot is practice in Tikipunga. The red dots are in 1 month the number of people that had their problems solved over the telephone without having to leave home and come up and have to see one of the practice staff. Knowing Northland, that's a lot of driving. Those are metal roads, often difficult to find a car that works. Also, petrol's super expensive. So doing this has got a lot of big benefits for the people we look after. For our providers out on the desk there, this is our model of care in terms of what practices deliver. That little dot there is just me doing triage calls. But actually out of that fills all your urgent unplanned care needs. It actually sorts everything out you need to do if someone needs to be sorted on the day. But it's got a big flow and right across all parts of the practice. So that's one little thing you start doing, has a massive flow into all the efficiency of your practice and the experience for patients. Patients like it. We like it. It's good for us. Proven too. So this is some qualitative research done a couple of years after we started this model of care up in Northland, and that teal green is the satisfaction rate of the triage process. You'll see at the top, admin staff absolutely love it. All they do is someone who rings up and wants an appointment and said, "What's your best phone number? Can you give me a heads up what's going on?" And that's it. No longer trying to negotiate appointments, no longer trying to find out what's going on, how, whether they're unwell or not unwell. And the rest of us like it, as you can see. It's something that we wouldn't go back on. And from a point of view of me as my workflow, all I have to do really is fill in a form. It could even bill if you need to for prescriptions or metacerts, writes back into my notes. That's it. That's the entire workflow for it. Now, the other thing I'm about to prove to you, this is probably one of the most equitable things that has occurred in health reform or in a health change in New Zealand. Don't need to be trained to do it. Anyone can do it as long as they know how to open that form. No data input. But the data is really important, which I'll show you shortly. And that's just our practice. That's a graph there, the pale blue's Māori, the dark blue's non-Māori. We are resolving and sorting out more problems for Māori pro rata than non-Māori. I don't think there's any other thing going on inside the health sector which is so pro-equity as what we're currently doing. Again, not particularly supported or interested by anyone in central government who haven't done anything to make this an easier thing for our practices to do. That data I showed you, that's some of the stuff that actually comes out of it. Shows that across the day we have our doctors doing most of the triage for the first 3 hours and then paramedics take over, that we resolve 40% of all incoming calls for a same-day appointment within 3 minutes. If doctors are doing it, it's closer to 50%, so half of people don't have to come in. We can sort things out for them. That's actually the volume. We took 14,000 triage calls last year, our practice. We resolved 7,000 of them without an appointment. And out of that too, you can actually see sometimes what the day of the week's like in terms of business. The skyscraper, the Manhattan, obviously Mondays are full on. Last year, 4th of July was a Monday. We took 105 triage calls on Monday. We took 65 before lunchtime. We felt that we hadn't really got the day sorted because we had 3 spill over into Tuesday. So we're still doing some fine tuning. We're looking at maybe how people use that tool. Some people like doing triage, some don't. So we're actually going to start leaning on people that are more champions for it. We are forever getting supply and demand right to make sure we got enough appointments for everybody. And I think we are putting that patient test into clinical practice. Other thing you have to do if you want this to work is have a really efficient call management system. So that's 4 months for my practice. They received close to 16,000 telephone calls in 4 months. They had 40 abandoned, so that's 1 in 400 were dropped, and it's 3% take more than 30 seconds. So if you want this to work, you've got to have that working as well. There's no hanging around on the phone. Next thing I want to briefly talk about is patient portals. This is something that we started using in my practice well before they were a healthcare home, almost a moment they became available. And they do a bunch of things for us. They give you as patients, view of all your records. We've got open notes so everyone can read their records, get prescriptions, they can message us, they get appointments and some of the stuff, personal details. It helps manage workload. Certainly admin and nursing staff workload is massively improved by this. GP workload is possibly increased because you're having to do some stuff that was could have possibly been passed on in the past, but that's quite okay if you just set aside time to do it. Patients can actually read their notes. They can do much more self-management. They can understand, what's going on with lab results, and it gives them another way of getting hold of us. Again, I showed you that thing before. That little dot there is a functioning portal. Does all those things. So just those 2 things I showed you have a huge effect across the practice in terms of how you cope with stuff. A little bit old, a couple of years ago, they looked at the tool we use, Manage My Health. Women are using it more than men at that stage. Elderly people use it a lot. There is no barrier age-wise to portal usage. And as I said, we've opened our notes. We opened our notes back in, we started the portal 2015, but we actually opened our notes back a year before that, so everyone could read everything that was written about them a year before we even knew they'd ever see them. Never had a complaint about notes. Got 78% of our total population over 16. Still an equity gap. We got 65% Māori and more non-Māori. We're working on that. We did 31,000 incoming and outgoing messages last year. You add that to another 14,000 triage calls. That's about 51,000 people coming into the practice. Or 32,000 came in. We did 51,000 other contacts through this sort of process. Lots of prescriptions, lots of logins. Just going to talk about portals though in general across the country. Probably 70% of practices have a portal in the country. 20% of patients are offered a portal. That's about 1 in 8 New Zealanders have app portal access at the moment. Only 10% offer open notes. So it's 1 in 50 people can read their notes in this country. I've got a big problem with that. I mean, that really is not care or service as far as I'm concerned. You know, if it was banking, travel or accommodation, you'd want to ship to your provider. And there was enough of worry to the central government. They got an audit done by the Controller of the Auditor General and came up with a whole list of things. I want to go through them. Those are lists of things that were complaints by people that don't provide the service. So the people that don't provide it know nothing about it, have never done it, have a whole lot of things they're going to complain about that don't actually exist. Just going to finish up with a little thing because I don't think that's going to work if we're going to leave it up to GP providers to decide who and who gets care. I think that they've had their chance. So I'm involved also as a consumer rep on the thing called HERA, which is a process here in Wellington to drive out a consumer portal for all New Zealanders using the same sort of login you use for your COVID vaccine passport. They're going to gather data from as many sources as they can and present that back to you in a digital application. That application, though, could be any other, not just their own one, but any other provider who knows how to do it. And one of the providers that will know how to do it, and maybe there's a wee bit of heads up for one of our gold sponsors who are Kesso, and some of you are probably going, who's a Kesso? What are they? They're actually a software company and they've got the contract in the northern region to provide a replacement for the mental health inpatient, outpatient services in Northland and all secondary service primary providers like district nursing, outreach nursing. The first thing they did, though, in terms of this process is they said, we're going to get whānau consumers and the voice of communities to tell us what we should be providing to you and how you want that done. I know Karoria's here, but Karoria, who's one of our lived experiences on the board here for a collaborative, is one of the key players in this, and they are going to present some stuff that actually is much more powerful than just what I've just shown you. And really because you've seen that before and you've heard people talk, 80% of what matters to people isn't their medical conditions, where the knee's down, it's the stuff to do with their wellbeing. And you would have seen that outside too, which is I helped design a wellbeing wheel, which is going to be embedded into this bit of software I'm about to show you. That's the work I really want to do. Stuff I've shown you is good. This is the thing I really like, is the stuff I want to get done is making people happy and find out what matters to them and sorting that out, which we're actually currently trying to get done once our practices have got that urgent care sorted. So a quick look at this my way. You'll log in the same way you logged into your passport, and it'll have a home screen, and it's got appointments, your journey, your whānau and your resources. Your appointments will appear there. They'll drag that appointment from any place, so probably your primary care appointments, GP appointments, hospital appointments, radiology, whatever, because that can be taken from any source. The most important bit here is stuff about your journey. In that you can write whakapataunatanga about you, who you are, what your goals are, what matters to you. You write that once into this application or any application, it will travel to every part of the health system, so you never have to repeat your story. I think that's probably the most important and powerful thing we could have as a bit of information for all of us. That wellbeing wheel I showed you has been put just vertically inside this app. So with an expectation that people can then tell us where their pain points are and we can work on those directly and hopefully even say to people, could you please fill in your, where you're up to, so we can sort that out when you arrive rather than start talking about their medical conditions that we might have on our agenda. My way forward is just if you're involved in shared care processes or other clinical processes, then you can use this part of the thing. And so that would take you directly into your care planning. You can add whānau members in. So you decide who you want in your care team, who friends and family you want to involve. And that person then can come in. They'll view your information coming in as a whānau member. They can click on their whānau members, see all that information I just showed you. It's shared with the people you want to share it with. They can see how you're up to with your programs. Then you've got resources. You can get urgent support. You can message people. You'll get notifications, and you'll have some resources. And that's why I'm going to pass over to Janine, who's an expert on resources, health clarity and stuff to self-manage. So that's me and Janine.
While I get set up, anyone got a question for Andrew? No? Cool. All right. Andrew, no question? Yeah,
100%.
Email contact and things through the portal.
Yeah.
Because I'm Margaret, I'm the GP coordinator, and I've come across several practices that have had to turn that function off for the sheer volume of contact they're having through emails, through a portal, and a lot of it can be really, it's not what it's designed for. It's people in crisis emailing and hours out of hours and things like that. So I actually know of several practices that have had to turn functionality off.
We're pretty careful when we enrol people. We've got a lot of enrollees. We use it full blown, but we have some rules of engagement about how you should use it, what it's to be used for, what won't be sorted out over it. We don't consult over it because that's not usually an appropriate way of doing it. It's very much a secure messaging system for things that could be sorted out in a sentence or two. And we don't have that much problem. Once we got the rules of engagement set up, and we often get back to people about other ways. Someone said, I've got a bladder infection today, so that needs to be, you can do that through the triage process, or I need a repeat prescription. No, you can order that through Managed Health. We've got over a lot of it by actually getting ahead of it to start with, by making sure that we were using it as efficiently as possible. I mean, we cope with 31,000 incoming outgoing messages, and we're freeing up for our busiest doctor half an hour a day to do that, but most of us do it within our normal work day. So it could be that you just reopen it in a way that you start off with some new rules, because I think if you just open it up without having thought it through, it could be a bit of bedlam, and I think some people have found it's bedlam. Does that make sense?
Thanks. Okay, well, kia ora koutou. I'm Janine Bycroft. I'm a GP based in Mount Wellington. I work part-time at ProCare, and some of the team are over there if you want to catch anybody. And I'm the CEO and founder of Health Navigator Charitable Trust. So look, I'm really passionate around self-management support or haurora and wellbeing. And look, we're really trying to come up with a different name for self-management at the moment. So talk to me. We're working on a project at the moment. What I'm going to do is just flick through a few slides. Haven't got long, so I'm going to take you on a super fast journey. And just look, there's a few things I just wanted to highlight. One is the fact that we are so focused on the healthcare system, but actually the impact on the determinants of health is really quite small. So it's just really good to remind ourselves that, look, as we've heard over the last 2 days, huge amount is around that social wellbeing, the poverty obviously has a huge impact, but also just do have a look there. The behaviour change side is really important. So what can we do to support whānau to be able to change, to make the right thing easier to do? And that's in everything from fruit and veggies through to exercise. But as we heard from both Dave and Tanya this morning, lots of people are in really difficult situations where we might be the first person that's actually really listened or been kind. I said to Tanya, what do we do? How do we make a difference? She said, just being kind can be the one of the first starting points. So, that behaviour change is really important. Now, how much do you think we actually remember? So when people come and see us in our consults, how much do they remember when they walk out the door? Come on, it's the afternoon, you need to wake up. Yep, what's that? 10%, okay, well, a bit more than that, yep. Yep, so look, it varies. So it's 40 to 80% is forgotten straight away. And I just think whenever I go to the lawyer, I think it's just double Dutch to me. So that's what it's like for a lot of our whānau. And then half of what they do remember is incorrect. So it's really important. The onus is actually on us. how we communicate effectively with the person in front of us. So we need to tailor that communication to fit their learning style, to fit their culture, relevance, and what's their world, rather than expecting that one size fits all. So that's why one of the reasons I'm really passionate around using written resources, online digital resources to support people's learning, both before, during, and after consults. And in quite a lot of countries, actually, when you leave, you're given a written summary, you're given a page of your notes from that day, that session. So that's one little thing we could even consider to start doing. I know it's in our short time, but yeah, that onus is on us. So it's really important. Don't label people as having poor health literacy. It's how we communicate that is really important. We've got a health system that's really difficult to navigate and has really high health literacy demands. So we have to change that paradigm. And again, actually, it was said this morning, I was like, yes. So whānau are the biggest untapped resource. So what are we doing to equip whānau to have the right skills, resources and support to develop more confidence, to manage effectively at home, to know when to seek medical help, and to be able to really maximise their haurora and wellbeing. Okay, so Amajit said, hey, look, tell people a little bit about Health of Whai and why it's all changed, because it has been a big change. So one of the reasons I started the Health Navigator Charitable Trust was when my kids were little, which is quite a long time ago now, information was becoming overloading before we've got to the point now it's just even completely overloading. And it was so hard to find the right thing. So it was really, you didn't know that the gout booklets and so on in Tongan were on the Pharmac website. There was great little booklets about starting insulin, were on the Waitemata DHB website. It was just this huge mess of information in hundreds of different places. And for us in general practice, it was near impossible to know where to find the best resource at the moment when you need it. And you only have a moment to find it during that consult. So we started to work together, set up a charitable trust, work with lots of whānau, and health colleagues. How can we do this together? So that's become our mahi. So I'm just going to quickly swap over and see if I will be able to get my, I'll quickly show you the website. So just to quickly show you around where to find everything. So look, for those of you that knew the Health Navigator New Zealand website, it does look really different. The reason we changed were lots of things. One, our website was really old and creaky and it was breaking, so we had to move to a new platform. We couldn't update anymore. We do a lot of work with our consumer advisors whānau. Merle has been with us for a long time. Gary, a shout out to Merle at the back there. Kroia have all been all part of our team, really wanting to bring that lived experience or the context experts along with us as we're grading that content. And they we did a lot of focus groups, and Tracy Thompson and others from ProCare also really did a lot of work with us around what is it that whānau wanted, and they wanted something that didn't look government. They don't trust, a lot of Māori don't trust government looking websites. They wanted it to be bright and colourful, so it's very bright, and they wanted it to be really mobile first. So now the content is very much on your mobile, because that's 70% of our users, and you can quickly find things. So stress. We've heard a little bit about stress today from a few of the speakers. Lots of topics there. It's really quick and easy to find on your phone. Sleep is another. So stress and sleep are two really common problems we deal with in general practice, but don't always have the best tools or resources. So here, the health coaches, HIPs, Kaimanaki, health navigators, all these different people can use these resources to support them and make that access easier for our whānau. So yeah, lots of great content there. In the morning, when I go into the practice, I open up 3 or 4 tabs. So I open up PMS, I open up health pathways, I open up Health of Whai, and I open up the calculators. So if I'm doing any doses, they're right there. I don't have to pull out my phone and try, and especially when you're in the red, we're in a unit, to try and pull it out when you're in all your gear. So it's easy to do those calculations and make sure you're getting your scripts right. One of the other things people have said is that they are finding it a little bit harder to find the brochures. So we've got a lot of medicines information and in other topics that has been translated. So one of the tips is to, like epagliflozin, we've got this in about 8 different languages. It's some videos explaining what it is and why it's so important. But if you scroll to the bottom, that's where you'll find the brochures, and also under the resources tab. So these are accordions. You can come up here to the top and you can open all. Whoops, can't see. And then that gives you the full page that you're used to. So then you've got the whole page with all the content that you're used to from before. So that's one tip to pass on to your teams. There used to be a separate tab called Health Providers, so now we've got a whole big section, and there is actually a lot in there around continuing professional development. One of the other things is the tools, so our most popular page on the website. Any ideas what it might be? Sorry? Yes, well done. So yeah, paracetamol dose calculator. It just took off and is the most popular page, and then ibuprofen over COVID. So they've been really popular pages because we get so much feedback from whānau saying, oh, it was so helpful in the middle of the night, I could work out what dose to give my child. And it just gives them that confidence to be able to manage at home and not, or to be able to ring Healthline if they need it, but they can go, yep, I can get the right dose as their child's growing. So we've got Kessler scores, lots of calculators on there from snoring and all sorts of other ones. And if there's one there that's not there, tell us. Okay, thank you. Back to the slides for me. Thank you. I'll quickly, yep. Okay, so these ones I'm just going to dash through because I've shown you most of those things. Lots of languages. Fitting in with what you're talking about, Andrew, we developed with Merle and Croya and a few others this beautiful wellbeing toolkit. So this was done with a lot of whānau at counties, really looking at, a lot of people said actually, yep, we still want a hard copy. We want our own booklet that we can take and share and capture our story. And so this has got lots of great resources there where you can print it off. We hope to get some printed copies shortly where they can just document that care plan. Eventually, hopefully, it might all get integrated and can be electronic. Okay, tools I've talked about, the New Zealand app library. So we provide independent reviews of apps. The mental health ones, as you can imagine, are the most popular. So again, this is about improving access for whānau. Really hard to get CBT. We know there's often long delays, particularly in the mental health space. So here, for those who are interested, they can access online CBT, and it's as good as seeing a therapist. The thing that makes a difference is the follow-up. So a health coach, a HIP, even a receptionist, if they've got great communication skills, can provide that support to just touch base in a week or two and say, hey, how'd you get on with doing the first module? Any questions? They can escalate things to us as needed, but it's really about improving access, and it makes such a difference for people to be able to start doing some of these modules. There's ones on sleep and stress and anxiety and depression and all the big topics from Just a Thought, but lots of other great groups as well. Here you'll find those independent reviews and consumer feedback around which apps that they actually found useful. Just a quick let you know about feedback. So look, whānau who visit the website, we were getting up to 1.7 million hits a month over COVID. So really is used hugely by both health, primary care, hospitals and the public. 75% of visitors said that they were inspired to make a change based on the information and content and resources that they had been able to access. And often they're accessing just might be a medicines information or something else, but they were more likely to take their medicine. So so I'll just flick through that. Andrew's already talked about open notes. I'm again just a huge advocate for the value of open notes. There's lots of great content from the States. Some countries are now mandating it, and I think that's what we need to do, because if you leave it up to us, we're still at 10% after what, 10 years? It's just not happening because people have lots of preconceived ideas about the challenges. So I just say to people, if you do online banking, you're going to be able to use open notes. You go in, you see my spelling mistakes, but you can see things we've talked about. You can see how many times you've had migraines or presented with that abdo pain or whatever it might be. And it improves adherence to medication by 75% in one of the studies. It's like, how much would we pay for an intervention that improved adherence by 75%? We would pay a lot for programs that wouldn't even achieve that. So it was really powerful. You don't have to do anything once you've turned it on, but just let people know that they can access their notes. And look, there's lots of studies you can link through to about all the research Sorry, I've left off the URL there, but we'll get that added. So yeah, really important. Go back to your practices, encourage them to open up the notes, and we should look at how do we get it mandated nationally through the Medical Council, GP College, any other bodies that we can to just give people that access. I've had Maori whānau come in and just say, oh, it was so good to be able to see my notes and to just made me feel more informed, more in control about what's happening. Quickly through resources, so you just saw before I brought up the Gout Guide, just been sort of promoted, released this week. This is particularly for, this was a collaborative we did over COVID over the last 12 months at ProCare with 5 practices, high-need practices, looked at what were the things that made a difference to improve outcomes for Maori and Pacific whānau with gout. So it brings together all the key resources from this and other projects across the country. So you'll find heaps of patient resources. Vanessa Prescott, she's the wonderful Tongan TikTok GP. Anyone know Vanessa? Yep, she's a star. She's the presenter. We've created 8 new little videos, 2 minutes sound bites that you can share with whānau around what is gout, why should they take medication, from both acute through to preventive, and obviously urate lowering therapy is the key aim of those. So look, really do share that with your practices. Really important that such an important equity issue, and we're pulling together all those resources in one place. Self-Management Support Toolkit, we've got a few resources out there. Again, this is going to be updated a bit more over the next little while. Heaps of stuff from care planning, health coaching, little modules that you can use with your teams to support your knowledge. And that's me. So thank you so much for your patience. And look, it's been so fantastic to be here, catch up with people we haven't seen for a long time. And we'd just love to hear from you about how we can work and support you and your organisations in your mahi. Thank you.
Does anyone have a burning question that they'd like to ask, since none of the other groups have come out yet? Yes?
I guess 2 questions is, define triage, I'm getting this link to minimal mortality or death rates.
The triage.
Yeah.
Yes, currently the gout is such an we're down wondering about water, the triage, and the life and that outcome. Is that what are they getting in?
It's hard to thought both, exactly what's important to find out what they're doing better. Not what's really actually documented there. If you did this type of see there,
Yeah.
Hospitalization for a number of patients.
It's tricky in ways that parameter that makes the most difference whether you turn up to the ED or not is how close you live to an ED. So to a degree, what we're doing is generally not, those people that we think are unwell would be seen. So we've got a red zone for people that are unwell. We've also got appointments for people who are unwell. Most of the triages, the quick triages, stuff that's actually probably pretty episodic, sort outable in a short period of time, and likely they're not going to suddenly destabilise and get more unwell. So 50% that were resolved are generally 50% of people who've got relatively minor ailments that are actually quite comfortably sorted out with a conversation. So the other 50% who we're not quite sure about, they'll be brought in and sorted out like any other practice, generally with a longer consultation and more investigation. So, yeah.
So I think it's really exciting. And I guess when you look at the goal the feedback system back to your
Yeah, look, all the whakarangu team use our content all the time. So for Healthline, it's their number 1 go-to. So, yeah, they were the first to notice as our site changed over because they're just using it constantly. Yep. And we've really done quite a lot of work over the self-care topics and the top presentations, thinking about what are people tuning up for, those top 20 presentations to urgent care over hours, so abdo pain, fever, headaches, UTIs, all those sorts of common topics. Yep.
like a
Cool.
They could catch up with us if they need to.
Okay.
Just one thing I noticed in this site. Keep up the videos, some of our most vulnerable populations, reading, reading is not their strong point. And, and to have those, being able to direct them, and I just copy the link into there and text it to them. and then they can open it and watch how you use the tape properly or whatever you're doing. It's great.
Cool, thank you. Look, we really want to do a lot more videos because, as you say, people just want those 90-second sound bites. They're really expensive to produce, but we're trying to get into doing them much quicker and easier. We're also trying to break the challenge around translations. It's so expensive. So if anyone's got any ideas of how we can crowdsource or pull and do it together, love to hear from you, because using Google Translate's not safe enough for health content. Cool, thank you.
Great, thank you, team. So we do have afternoon tea now, and we will take the time. I think we've got about 12 minutes. So Janine and Andrew will be out there if you do have any other questions, and they're quite open to that. So thank you again to Andrew and Janine and your team for that wonderful presentation today, and we'll see you shortly, 12 minutes.